Assalamu alaikum. The topic of today's video lecture is heat capacity. So in this video I am going to explain what is heat capacity, the specific heat capacity and molar specific heat. So heat capacity is actually the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of the system by 1 degree. So let's just say that I have a beaker and in this beaker water is present and this water is at 0 degrees of Celsius. So now the amount of heat that will be required to raise the temperature of this water by 1 degree C will be called the heat capacity. And now the formula for heat capacity is C is equal to change in heat divided by change in temperature. Okay, and this is the heat provided and this is the rise in temperature of the system. Similarly, that will be equal to joule per degrees of Celsius. As you know that the unit of heat is joule and the unit of temperature is degrees of Celsius. So that gives me joule per degree Celsius, or if I take per Kelvin, then that would be equal to joule per Kelvin. I can also write this formula as Q is equal to C delta T, because delta T when go here will be equal to delta Q is equal to C delta T, or I can simply write as Q is equal to C delta T. And the next thing that I have is specific heat. So what is specific heat? Specific heat capacity is the amount of the heat absorbed by 1 gram of a substance to raise its temperature by 1 degree. So if let's just say that I have 1 gram of sodium metal. Let's just say that I have 1 gram of sodium metal. So if I have 1 gram of sodium metal, then the amount of heat that will be required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of sodium metal by 1 degree C will be known as the specific heat capacity. And as you know that we have just introduced the concept of mass here, so the formula will be equal to Q is equal to mc delta T. And again, if you want to find the value of the specific heat, this m and delta T will go down here, and that will give me C is equal to Q divided by m delta T. And again, Q, the unit of Q is joule, the unit of mass is gram, the unit of delta T is degree C, or you can also take it equal to Kelvin. So that gives me joule per gram per Kelvin, or joule per gram per degree C. The next thing we have is the molar specific heat. It is actually the amount of heat absorbed by 1 mole of a substance to raise its temperature by 1 degree. So what is the difference between specific heat and molar specific heat is that the difference is, in case of the specific heat you need to take 1 gram of a substance, while in case of the molar specific heat you need to take 1 mole of a substance. Okay, so now let me just say that I have a system here. So let's just say that I am taking 1 mole of water and I need to raise its temperature from 20 degrees C to 21 degrees Celsius. So in that case, what will be the heat? The heat will be known as the molar specific heat, because it is the amount of heat that is required to raise the temperature of a substance of 1 mole of a substance by 1 degree C. So in that case, the formula is Q is equal to NC delta T, where N is the number of moles. So if you want to find the formula for C, then N and delta T will go down here, and C will be equal to Q divided by N delta T, and the value and the unit for Q is joule, the unit of N is mole, and the unit of temperature is degree C. So I can say that joule per mole per degree Celsius, or joule per mole per Kelvin, is actually the formula for molar specific heat. Okay, so that was all for today's video, in which we have explained the heat capacity, the specific heat capacity, and the molar specific heat. So inshallah, see you in the next video, in which I will explain the heat capacity relations. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.